Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
As long as the Matrix exists, the human race will never be free.
Start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now?
Terrorists! Terrorize this.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Freedom so I can give, freedom so I can live. You see, when we have freedom, we all support each other a whole lot better. That's how it goes. When we're dependent, it's every man for himself, as you can see. So on that note, greetings, free thinkers, revolutionaries, ascensionists, and people who want some goddamn answers. It is Monday, November 28, 2011, and you have found yourselves under full-scale attack on multiple fronts here on the front line of this war on our humanity. I'm your vigilant point man, Darren Stone, broadcasting to you live from freshly and heavily chemtrailed FEMA Region 1. Tonight's call-in number is 917-889-3064 should you decide to let your voice be heard. Because remember, kids, getting body slammed face first on the floor of Walmart by two jackbooted, overcompensating corporate whore cops while protecting your grandson is not the time to let your voice be heard. 917-889-3064. All right. We're going to start the show. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving weekend, found something to be thankful for. It's easy to forget those things in these times. It's easy to forget those things, but I hope we all found something to be thankful for. There's actually a lot to be thankful for. Be thankful that you're still vertical. That's always something to be thankful for. And be thankful if you had people around you. That's something else to be thankful for. Look, I know. I know. Sometimes it's not quite what we imagine, but it's still all good if you have somebody there. All right. Let me get the plugs out of the way first, and we'll start this mess we call Front Radio. For those new listeners, and I want to say I have a lot of new people signing up on the Fascist Book page for the Front. Thank you, guys, those of you that are listening, new listeners to the show. This is a citizens news network. So please, if you have any suggestions for the show, comments, constructive criticism, corrections, if I make mistakes, then please let me know. You can email those to thefront@live.com. That's thefront@live.com. The website, the official website for the show is frontradio.net. All right, and from that website, you can get all the info about the show. You can get to the YouTube channel, which is Doing fairly well for, I think it's been up for about 6 weeks now. Not doing too bad. 1,200 upload views or something like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, if you notice, if you head on over to frontradio.net, on the right-hand side of the page, right-hand column, you will see the new front T-shirts that are available for a $20 donation. Now, those of you who are just listening to the show, or just started listening to the show, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but we all pay to do our own radio shows. It just costs money, and believe me, it's not something I wanted to do, ask for donations. I really didn't want to have to do it. But if the show's going to stay, that's what I have to do. I just don't have the money to foot the bill at the moment. Hopefully, in the near future, I will. But, hey, you make a small donation and you get yourself a groovy T-shirt. All that money's going to go right back into the program because the cool thing, is that this show is actually starting to get a little more play and it's getting pushed out there a little bit more. So it's a what do you say? It's an exciting time for the show, and I'd like to take this to the next level. Now, look, I don't care about being paid to do this. I'm not going to lie to you. It would be nice. But getting paid to do radio is like becoming a rock star. It's probably never going to happen. But it would be cool if I could just support the show through donations at first and then maybe get some advertisers and be able to give out shirts, for promotion. That would be awesome. That's what I'd rather do. But it is what it is for right now. And, what the hell, man? It's a nice shirt. It's not an ugly shirt. It's cool. So check that out. If you don't have a way to pay with the PayPal or with your credit card and you want a shirt, just shoot me an email. We'll work it out somehow. I'm easy to work with. All right. What else do we have? Twitter. It's the front on Twitter. The O is a 0, so it's the front with a big old O. And we'll go into my normal joke about that. And once you're done listening to the front and all 165 fantastic episodes, head on over to Orion Talk Radio Network and check out the program over there. I have some good friends that do shows over there. Great content, great shows. So kind of work together as a team, kind of, but not really, but kind of. It's a bonding, I guess is what it is. All right, so enough of that stuff. All right, some technical difficulties this evening, guys. I tried to upload 2 clips to play for you tonight. For some reason, Blog Talk just wasn't having it. Just not going to do it, not doing it. So I am I'm not clipless, but I am short on clips tonight. So you're going to have to put up with me. I know it's not good. So let's get right into it. I was going to play a clip with Judge Napolitano. Now, I've said this about Judge Napolitano. Look, I can't find something wrong with the guy yet, besides the fact that he's on mainstream television. That in itself raises a huge red flag for me. Do good things come flying out of his pie hole when he's on television? Yes, they do. Do I like what he says a lot of times? Yes, I do. Is he behind the 8 ball sometimes? Yes, he is. Does he point out the full truth? No, he doesn't, because he'll probably get canned. But he does bring up a lot of interesting points for mainstream. Nothing that's new to any of us or anybody that's been following the truth for a while. But regardless, that clip did not upload. It was him basically asking questions, what if the Constitution was not in order any longer, was the basis of the clip. And I think we all know that it's not. It's pretty obvious. And what I was going to play this clip in reference to was this new battlefield bill that supposedly hit the Senate floor today. Now, some interesting things with this bill. Let me read to you a little bit about the bill first. This is off ACLU.org through the Intel Hub. The title of the article is Senators Demand the Military Lockup of American Citizens in a, quote, battlefield they define as being right outside your window. Now, here's the gist of the bill, everybody. I'm going to read some actual excerpts from the bill so you know exactly what we're dealing with. The general premise of it is this. our government wants to incorporate the United States into the battlefield borders, I would guess you would say, in the war on terror, which means that they want the military operating full scale within our borders, enforcing laws that have to do with terrorism at first, I guess. But, you know, once that camel gets its nose under the tent, pretty soon you have the whole effing pack in your tent, right? I don't know. Do camels travel in packs or herds? I'm not quite sure. But you know what I'm saying. So here's the article, right? Now we're going to get into some specifics on the bill. While nearly all Americans head to family and friends to celebrate Thanksgiving, the Senate is gearing up for a vote on Monday or Tuesday that goes to the very heart of who we are as Americans. The Senate will be voting on a bill that will direct American military resources not at an enemy shooting at our military in a war zone, but at American citizens and other civilians far from any battlefield, even people in the United States itself. Your senators need to hear from you. Okay, side note on that, everybody. That doesn't seem to do us a lot of good the majority of the time. I'm not saying don't contact your senator. If you feel like doing that, then you go right ahead. It wouldn't hurt. On whether you think your front yard is part of a quote-unquote battlefield, and if any president can send the military anywhere in the world to imprison civilians without charge or trial. The Senate is going to vote on whether Congress will give this president and every future president the power to order the military to pick up and imprison without charge or trial civilians anywhere in the world. Now, here's an interesting point, and this is what a lot of people fail to think about and realize when legislation is passed. Look, if this is your guy, okay, if you are of that mindset that you have a guy who's actually on your side in our government acting as president, if you're still of that belief system, and you're happy with your guy that's in there now, or you were happy with your guy that was in there before, and you hope to have your guy in there in the next election, just remember that all these legislations carry over. All these bills carry over to the next person in power. So let's just say you love Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, for whatever reason. Okay? You like this person. That would probably mean that you despise Dick Cheney. What if Dick Cheney was to become the president in the next term with laws like this? Well, I can hear the collective, gasp in horror from the libtards on the left who still believe in this whole thing. And the other way, on the other side, all of you righties out there who have drank that Kool-Aid, what if Obama gets another 4 years with legislation like this? You see, this is legislation that is anti-American. This is anti-freedom. This is a progression of tyranny. Okay? It doesn't matter if your guy is in there. This is wrong across the board. So let's continue, and I'll show you exactly what's in the bill. Another point in this that you'll see is that this is a bipartisan bill. So, when you get these ridiculous Republican presidential candidates up there talking about freedom and the overstepping the bounds of big government, always remember that these a-holes these are bipartisan bills that these people put together. Okay? These aren't the Democrats just doing it, or the Republicans just. This is all bipartisan stuff, you guys, because all these people are 96% of Congress is invested in defense contract corporations. 96%. So do you think that our Congress wants any type of peace anywhere whatsoever? No. The more war, the more fighting, the more terror they can produce for us, the richer they get. And the more your rights are disintegrated, taken away, the more you're violated. And eventually the time will come where American citizens will be getting lined up and shot and thrown in ditches. Now, I know that's hard for a lot of people to believe, but that is the honest truth. That is history. That is the progression of tyranny, and is the progression of genocide. We are there. We are on the move towards that. It will not stop unless we decide to stop it. There will be no elected official that comes in and puts the brakes on this. He will be killed if that's what he tries to do, or she. That's the simple truth. And we can keep ignoring it all we want to. We can keep, pacifying ourselves with whatever you like to pacify yourself with and keep living in denial. But this is what's going to happen. And you know what? I personally think this is going to happen very, very shortly. Not that I think that people are going to be lined up and shot next week or anything, but within the next few years, we could progress to that point. It could be sooner than that. But even if it's not in the next few years and you're a parent with children, I guarantee you by the time your child is your age, if we stay on this path that we're on, just use your imagination to what kind of world your child will be living in. Anyways, on with this bill. Even Representative Ron Paul raised his concerns about the NDAA detention provisions during last night's Republican debate. The power is so broad that even U.S. citizens could be swept up by the military, and the military could be used far from any battlefield, even within the United States itself. The worldwide indefinite detention without charge or trial provision is in, here's the name of the bill, S. 1867, the National Defense Authorization Act bill, which was supposedly announced on the Senate floor today. The bill was drafted in secret. Look, there's another thing. Anytime anything is done in secret, it's because, why? Well, because you don't want anybody to know about it. Is that a transparent government like Barry Obama Sotoro promised us? No, it is not. So the bill was drafted in secret by Senators Carl Levine, who's a Democrat out of Michigan, and John the Warmonger McCain, Republican out of Arizona, and passed in a closed-door committee meeting without even a single hearing. Now look, hey, everybody, it's time for all of us to put on our common sense hats and go, well, gee, if Senator Carl Levine and John McCain were doing something great for the American citizen and for the public, wouldn't this be announced everywhere? Wouldn't we see the info bimbos on Fox telling you all about it and how great it's going to be for you? Wouldn't we hear that man, woman, boy, girl, Maddow talking about how great this would be for you? Wouldn't we hear that defunct sportscaster Keith Olbermann telling you what great thing this would be for you? Actually Olbermann's on board with a lot of this stuff as being bad, but again, he's a big funder for the Democratic Party, so he's still drinking the bipartisan Kool-Aid, the two-party Kool-Aid. But anyway, it's all these things. Nothing needs to be done in secret if it's good for us. The only things that are done in secret are things that are supposed to be hidden, right? That's it. I know it sounds incredible, new powers to use the military worldwide, even within the United States. No, actually, it doesn't sound incredible. It sounds exactly like the New World Order agenda to me. So the article goes on to say, hasn't anyone told the Senate that Osama bin Laden is dead, that the president is pulling all the combat troops out of Iraq and trying to figure out how to get combat troops out of Afghanistan too? I don't really agree with that. And American citizens and people picked up on American or Canadian British streets being sent to military prisons indefinitely without even being charged a crime. Does anyone think this is a good idea? And why now? Well, look, this really isn't new news, okay, to anybody who's been paying attention. If you remember, shortly after the election of Barack Obama, he formed a committee to pen what was it? It was called the indefinite detention mandate or something like that. I have the clip actually, but it would take me an hour to find it in the library. But basically, it went along with the Patriot Act and basically gives the government the right to jail you if they think that you are taking part in any type of terrorist behavior. Now, remember, the government has a list of what they consider to be terrorist behavior. Some of those things are wearing Levi jeans, being bald, having a Ron Paul bumper sticker. I'm trying to think of other ridiculous things. Oh, I can't remember, but it's just asinine. So the point is, they can pretty much make up anything. Okay, and we already know about behavior detection police being used by the TSA to determine whether or not you are displaying erratic or dangerous behavior. It wouldn't matter if you, let's say, got out of bed that morning late to catch your flight, running out of the house or running around to get ready to go, and you jam your toe into the corner or something, fracturing it, hurts like a mother, put you in a bad mood. Maybe you spill coffee on yourself, and maybe you're going somewhere you don't even want to go to. So you show up to the airport a little bit agitated, and the behavior detection police confront you, and they say, "Mr. Stone, come with us." Why? Who are you? Why'd I have to come with you? Well, because you're displaying terrorist behavior. I am? Yes, you're thinking bad things. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. We are behavioral police. We're experts in behavior, so we know. In fact, we know what you're thinking before you even know what you're thinking. Come with us. And under the Patriot Act, I can then be jailed indefinitely with no rights, and I just disappear off the map because the behavior police said so. Now, if anyone out there thinks that things like this will not and are not and cannot be used for political dissidents, you're wrong. And the truth is that is probably the main reason why legislation like this is drafted. It is probably why legislation like this is drafted in the first place. So this article goes on to say, well, let me just say this right here. Let's see. Let me see. The White House has even threatened a veto, but Senate politics has propelled this bad legislation to the Senate floor. But there is a way to stop this dangerous legislation. Senator Mark Udall, a Democrat from Colorado, is offering the Udall Amendment that will delete the harmful provisions and replace them with a requirement for an orderly congressional review of detention power. The Udall Amendment makes sure that the bill matches up with American values. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Udall, but this doesn't match up in any way, shape, or form with American values, no matter how you slice it, or whatever type of stupid amendment with your name on it that you want to put in there. In support of this harmful bill, Senator Lindsey Graham explained that the bill will basically say in law for the first time that the homeland is part of the battlefield and people can be imprisoned without charge or trial, American citizen or not. Another supporter, Senator Kelly Ayotte, who's a Republican out of New Hampshire, also declared that the bill is needed because America is part of the battlefield. Y'all didn't know that, did you? Part of the battlefield. The thing with this is, and look, if the White House vetoes this bill, who really cares? Indefinite detention is already a part of our culture now. So is torture, and obviously so is the Patriot Act, which was extended under Obama. So I really doubt that the White House will veto this. I could be wrong. But the bottom line is this, everybody. To really worry about bills like this it doesn't matter. We shouldn't even worry about legislation like this. And the reason I'm bringing this bill to your attention, excuse me, is because I'm trying to get the point across that it really doesn't matter what laws they pass or what laws they do not pass. We are part of an agenda, and we are that agenda is being fulfilled whether they pass legislation like this or not. Look, if the president declares a national emergency, then all of your rights are suspended anyway. Okay? So worrying about legislation like this, calling Congress people, look, it's a good idea. At least it lets your voice be heard, I guess, on an answering machine somewhere if somebody listens to it. But the truth is that this stuff isn't going to stop. It's not going to stop. And I've always asked for, hold on a second, I'm going to get back to my soundboard here. I've always asked, let's see. I've always asked that people understand that the progression of tyranny. It's my sound is terrible tonight. Is that what you guys are saying in chat? It's the first time I stared at the chat room, so I really don't know. I apologize for that. It's the progression of tyranny, and it's not going to stop unless we, the people, stop it. And I hate to say it, but it's going to come down to being in the streets. It's probably going to come down to marching on key government installations with a show of citizen force. Okay? Not violent. I'm not promoting violence. It's my disclaimer. But it's really the only way it's going to be stopped. And if anybody out there can please explain to me another way to stop this, another way, I'd love to know. I'd love to hear. And if anybody out there can please explain to me how I could be wrong about all this and how America is going to turn things around and we're going to be going back to becoming a prosperous nation and the pursuit of happiness will be, at the top of the list for everybody instead of just trying to make it. I don't hear anybody coming up with a plan or anybody explaining a chain of events that's going to turn this sinking ship around or keep it afloat. I really don't know. And so if anybody can tell me, please call in 917-889-3064. I'm just a guy that does a radio show because I couldn't shut my mouth, and the people around me got sick of listening to me, so I figured I'd annoy a lot of other people out there. So, I get things wrong. I get things right a lot because it's not hard to understand the agenda, and you see the method of operation being put into play over and over and over and over again. So it's not really hard to figure these things out. So here, let me give you a couple excerpts from the bill itself, so you know. Where are we here? Let me see. Here we are. Okay. Section 1031. Authority to detain unprivileged enemy belligerents captured pursuant to the authorization for use of military force. Basically, that says we have the right to detain anybody who falls under our definition of terrorist by the military. Detained by the military for anybody they deem a terrorist. Okay? Now, let's look at some people they've deemed terrorists. Okay? If you print your own money, you're a terrorist. If you speak out against the government, you're a terrorist. If you, like I said before, a supporter of Ron Paul, you're a terrorist. If you believe that 9/11 was an inside job, you are a terrorist. If you like to drink raw milk, or if you give your friends raw milk, you are a terrorist. If you transport vegetables you grew in your garden over state lines to your friend's house for a dinner, you are a terrorist. And it can be picked up and detained by the military. I don't know. This isn't let me just read some more of this bill before I get into another spiel here. All right, so that is Section 1031, subsection A. In general, the armed forces of the United States are authorized to detain covered persons captured in the course of hostilities authorized by the authorization for use of military force as unprivileged enemy belligerents pending disposition under law of war. Subsection D, covered persons. A covered person under this section is any person, including but not limited to persons for whom detention is required under Section 1032, as follows. A person who planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001, or harbored those responsible for those attacks. Well, since they all came from Saudi Arabia, might want to look there. And then we can refer back to the 9/11 Commission, who said that that 9/11 needs to be reinvestigated again. We could look at George Bush and Dick Cheney, who refused to testify under oath and refused to testify separately as persons who planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11th. Right? They would fall into that, but that won't happen. Crazy kids. That's not going to happen. What else do we have? Oh, a person who was part of or substantially supported Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces that are engaging in hostilities across the United States, or its coalition partners, including any person who has committed a belligerent act or has directly supported such hostilities in aid of such enemy forces. So I guess who would fall under that would be the quote-unquote Libyan rebels. They were part of Al-Qaeda. And maybe we can now detain Hillary Clinton, who I played last week, is admitting, finally, that Al-Qaeda was formed by the United States during the Afghan war. Common knowledge among people who are somewhat awake, but it may be new news to a recently awakened sheeple out there. You know, we won't see Hillary or Georgie Boy or Dickie Cheney being detained under any of these provisions, but, you know, we'll probably see a lot of patsies being detained under trumped-up charges brought about by the FBI, being detained under this, so that the rest of you can go, they can show the rest of you, see, look at us catching all these bad terrorists right inside the United States. Aren't you glad that there's soldiers on every corner with automatic weapons and Humvees patrolling your neighborhoods with mounted 50 caliber machine guns on top? Aren't you happy about that? The sad thing is a lot of people would be happy about that. Just like some people in Germany were happy about that. But do you all know what happened in Germany at the end? Everybody died. Everybody was dying. Everybody was starving. Hitler armed 14-year-old boys, actually even younger, like 9, 10, and 11-year-old boys, and old men with weapons to fight the Allies as they were coming in, because there was nobody left. Everybody was either murdered in camps, murdered in the streets, or starved. It wasn't just the Jews in the Holocaust, everybody. That's the commercial version of the Holocaust. Yes, lots of Jews died. I'm not a Holocaust denier. I'm a Holocaust expander, okay? Because it was a lot more than just the Jews. It was any political dissenters. It was Polish people. It was gypsies. It was Russians. It was anybody. Anybody was thrown in those camps. Anybody. That's what's happening here. The same people who ran that show are running this show right now. And if you disagree with that, please call in and tell me why, and I will explain to you why I disagree. So I'm not going to go through the rest of these points. I will be posting them up. You can check all the stuff I covered on the Front's Facebook page after every program, and on the Front's website, frontradio.net. All the articles get posted simultaneously to both places, so you can check them out there. But what I want to say is that this is an underlying theme. This is an underlying way of thinking throughout military and government agencies, and now federalized local law enforcement. A good example, I brought this up the other day in a conversation, a good example of the problem with federalizing police forces is the crackdowns, the coordinated crackdowns on the Occupy Wall Street movement all across the nation. You know, all of these areas where these people are protesting, well within their rights to protest. Look, I don't care if you don't like what they're saying, because you have to support it. If you don't support free speech, then you don't support your own free speech. Okay? Look, I don't like what the ridiculous Tea Party has to say now, the co-opted Tea Party headed up by Sarah Palin. Okay? A bunch of globalist lackeys now running the supposed Tea Party. I don't like what those people have to say, because they're a bunch of bozos now. The original Tea Party had it right. Now, no. You know, I don't like all the things I hear coming out of Occupy Wall Street, but you all have to understand that in the throes of a revolution, in the beginning of a revolution, it's a very complex thing. There's a lot of different agendas being implemented, a lot of people trying to co-opt it, a lot of different factions trying to pull it their way. It's not so cut and dry like Fox News tries to make it or CNN tries to make it. Okay? But the important thing about movements like Occupy Wall Street is this. There's a lot of grassroots in there. There's a lot of grassroots. And if nothing else, you have to support the right to free speech. You have to. And any Tea Party person out there that doesn't support Occupy, you have to support it, because it gives you the right to say what you want to say. The other thing is, Americans, stop pointing the fingers at everybody else. Stop pointing the fingers at each other. The guy across the street is not your enemy. Okay? Look, if you're an occupier, the Tea Party guy is not your enemy. If you're a Tea Partier, the occupier is not your enemy. You are all being played. We are all being played off of each other. It's classic destabilization. It's how they do it, trying to topple a nation. That's why across the board you have to support free speech. You have to. But as I was saying, this is an underlying train of thought for the federal government now. Okay? So when you see these, and the underlying thought, the underlying train of thought that I'm speaking about is, look, when you see police now, just look at some of the videos of these guys cracking down. I mean, these guys are full-fledged body armor, Nazi helmets. The helmets are shaped the same. The helmets are shaped the same as the Nazi helmets. They're even the same color. They're that dark gray black. So when we have a coordinated national crackdown on the Occupy movement, that's federalization of police forces. That's the feds going basically like this. Look, we gave you guys all your fancy equipment, your body armor, your new Dodge Chargers, your LRAD cannons, your suburban assault vehicles or your urban assault vehicles, all the toys, your drones, your blimps, your taser shotgun shells. We gave you all the new toys. Now you're going to do what we want you to do, or else we'll pull the funding. We own you now. We gave you an offer you can't refuse. And the other thing, you know, if you don't do it, we'll find somebody that will. So that's the problem with the federalization of local police forces. But this is a train of thought. This trickles down from the Fed down to the guy in your little town that pulls you over, who's now been trained that anybody, anywhere could be a terrorist and a threat to him personally and a threat to everybody around him. That's why we're treated the way we're treated now by the police. And it's only going to get worse, because as they bring in younger and younger people who have grown up in this era of terrorism, I mean, these guys are much easier to brainwash, much easier to manipulate, because they haven't seen the change in America. They've been conditioned by mass media, mass propaganda, amazing amounts of video games portraying violence. Look, I used to be a big video game player, and I can tell you this, the war-type video games started off as classic war-type video games, meaning you would play an American soldier in World War II fighting against the Japanese or Germans or whatever, all right? Okay, whatever. Historically, history, whatever with that. Now, the majority of the first-person shooter video games or military video games, you're either warring for profit, you're warring for corporations, okay, or you're warring against terror, which is, of course, fabricated 99.9999% of the time. So this all falls under conditioning. But even more than that, this is why, I played this clip on the show, and it's older now. It's been around for a few years. I first heard this clip, I believe it might have been in Alex Jones, The Obama Deception. But this is a clip from a FEMA training, training up-and-coming FEMA employees about the American history and who the first terrorists were in this country. And the first terrorists in this country, according to FEMA, were the founding fathers, such as George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. I could go into a whole other spiel about the founding fathers and what my true feelings are about our supposed history, but I won't. But I want you to understand, I'm going to play this clip. It's short. Just listen to how the instructor asks questions and asks who the original terrorists are or were. And this is why it's training like this. This is why police act the way they do. This is what's being expected of them. This is why if you drive around with a Constitution in your car, at least 60 to 70% of police officers that pull you over will consider you a possible terrorist threat because you have a Constitution. All right? It would paint you out to be a crazy right-winger militia guy. All right? So check this out.
Yet our best trained, best educated, best equipped, best prepared troops refuse to fight. Yet our best trained, best educated, best equipped, best prepared troops refuse to fight.
9/11, FEMA was quietly indoctrinating local police to have a hatred of the founding fathers and everything our constitutional republic stands for.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson? Oh, yeah. You mean George Washington? Oh, yeah. Paul Revere? Yeah. These guys right here, let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people? Oh, yeah. They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials because they systematically had British officials assassinated.
Wow. Yes, that was the wrong clip. Blog Talk Radio is not user-friendly tonight, at least not for the front. I apologize for that. And then the clip wouldn't stop. It wouldn't shut off. But did you hear that? I know that the audio is not the greatest. But did you hear that? This guy, this FEMA trainer, is teaching local law enforcement that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were terrorists because they carried out assassinations on British officials. Hey, newsflash, everybody. Okay, we supposedly broke free of the King of England because he was a tyrant, right? So do you see then you had to see the mind F there, the mind F. I mean, so as this is what I wonder. These police officers were taught in school. I'm imagining that some of them were probably my age, in their early 40s, maybe a little younger. I don't know, but are being taught that the men they learned about in school, who supposedly fought against tyranny, to give them a country where they could be free and have the pursuit of happiness. Now they're being taught those same men were the original terrorists because they carried out assassinations against British officials. Which leads me to the question, well, we have Barack Obama who's carried out now 3 assassinations, actually 4 assassinations, as part of our foreign policy now, but he's not considered a terrorist. He's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And I guess that's the line of thinking coming down from the federal government, and that's why the federalization of police forces is so dangerous, because we're all driving around out there, not all of us, but the vast majority of us are all driving around out there thinking we live in a free country. I mean, I don't think that, but a lot of people do. And you get pulled over, and this police officer has a whole different frame of mind about you, your rights, and where you live, and what his powers are than you do. So, just wanted to bring that all up, all circulating around this this bill. The what is it again? The authorization for use of military force. No, that's not the name of the bill. Oh, I already closed the window. Oh no, here's the bill. It is called the. Yeah, it's the 80s, people. My memory is not the best. The National Defense Authorization Act bill. That's it. That's it. All right. You know, I posted that article about this bill a little while ago on the Front's Facebook page, and it didn't get a lot of play. Not a lot of people checked it out. It's important things like that you need to take the time to read, you know. But the whole thing is, look, like I said in the beginning, you don't want to get wrapped up in this legislation. You don't want to. I mean, you want to know what they're doing, but you don't want to focus on stuff because none of it's going to stop. None of it's going to stop. The Patriot Act is the blanket for all of this. I really don't understand why they even have to try to pass more legislation for that when they can just enact the Patriot Act. It's the go-to guy if they want to get something done while erasing all of your rights. It's the Patriot Act. And so, you know, in the war on terror, we're going to move on now. We're going to move overseas to Afghanistan, where, you know, we'll use the old phrase, we'll get them over there before they get us over here, kind of thing. In the war on terror, and those that support it and support the troops, 6 children are killed by NATO airstrike in Afghanistan. That's right. Well, look, everybody, those kids could have picked up an AK-47 at some point, and, you know, that would have made them a terrorist. You know, just because you're defending yourself against occupiers in your country, you're a terrorist. In Kandahar, Afghanistan, 6 children were among 7 civilians killed in a NATO airstrike in southern Afghanistan, Afghan officials said Thursday. The deaths occurred on Wednesday in the Zaire district of Kandahar province, an area described by coalition forces as largely pacified in recent months. And 2 insurgents were also killed, the Afghan officials said. Well, hey, look, you got 2 supposed insurgents, and you got 6 dead kids. We call that collateral damage. It's always going to be a little collateral damage. Not a big deal, unless, of course, it's your kid. Spokesman for the NATO-led International Security Assistance Force, Master Sergeant Christopher DeWitt, said the authorities were aware of the strike and had sent a team to the district to investigate. He said, because, you know, as a grieving parent, a NATO investigation always makes you feel better after finding your kid blown into a million parts, right? He said the assistance force had not previously issued a news release on the deaths. Well, I wouldn't expect they would. That's bad. It's bad press. That doesn't really make people pro-war, you know. Zalmai Ayubi, spokesman for the governor of Kandahar, said that a NATO reconnaissance aircraft spotted 5 militants planting mines in the village of Saicha in the Zaire district on Wednesday. The plane targeted the insurgents, killing 2 and wounding a 3rd, then pursued the other two suspects as they carried their wounded comrade away. Quote, the plane chased them, the insurgents entered a street where children were playing, and as a result of its shooting, 7 people have been killed, including 6 children, and 2 girls have also been injured, Mr. Arabi said. The victims were members of 2 families. Oh, yeah, so we wipe out a good portion of a family. That's nice. Abdul Samad said an uncle of 4 of the children. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you live with your big family and you're on your street and you have 4 of your nieces and nephews dead in the streets from a NATO aircraft? Can you imagine the hatred that you'd have in you for NATO and America and Britain and all the other globalist suck-up countries? Unbelievable. I mean, and you want to know why people dislike America? Well, children slaughtering their children, you know? But, hey, whatever, support the troops, everybody, right? It's the troops that slaughter the children, just so you know. It's not anybody else. It's not anybody else. His brother-in-law, Mohammed Rahim, 50, had his 2 sons and 3 daughters with him. They were between 4 and 12 years old, and all were killed, except an 8-year-old daughter who was badly wounded, Mr. Samad said. Quote, there were no Taliban in the field. This is a baseless allegation that the Taliban were planting mines, Mr. Samad said. I've been to the scene and haven't found a single bit of evidence or bombs or any other weapons. The Americans did a serious crime against innocent children. They will never be forgiven. American soldiers have destroyed numerous dwellings in Zaire to deny insurgents hiding places, and they have also built new roads across farmland because existing ones were so heavily mined. Residents were quickly compensated by the military, however, and in recent months, the area, one of several districts near the city of Kandahar that were once Taliban strongholds, have been relatively quiet. I mean, you know, now people will say, well, Darren, why do you believe this guy from Afghanistan? Well, you know, because my government has lied to me consistently. I was on a show on Thanksgiving with my friend JJ on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Against the Wall, his show is. So check out his show. He does a great show. I was on Thanksgiving morning with him, and he asked me the question. He's like, Darren, would you believe me if I lied to you like 5 times in a row? Would you ever believe me again? Of course I wouldn't. In fact, if you lied to me big time once, I might let you get away with it. And if you lied to me again, I wouldn't believe anything you said again, ever. And none of you out there would deal with people like that. But yet we believe what we're told. And if we don't believe what we're told and we're just going along with the status quo, then we are willing participants in this genocide. That's what we are. And this brings me to this clip I posted on Facebook. Many of you may have seen it by now, of American soldiers beating a sheep with an aluminum baseball bat. Have anybody seen this? And, you know, there are some comments on the picture. And now I don't hold anybody, I'm not picking on anybody personally. What I'm going to talk about is a mindset, okay? A mindset. I was accused because when I posted the clip, I quoted Henry Kissinger's famous saying about how military men are nothing but dumb animals to be used as pawns. That was his quote, okay? And since the guy has a big hand in shaping foreign policy for military intervention, I figured it was an appropriate quote because the soldiers in the clip are acting like dumb animals. Now look, these guys that do this type of thing, these are not isolated incidents, okay? These are not isolated incidents. Think back. We have remember the soldier that threw the puppy off the cliff? Remember that guy? Remember the soldiers that were tried for rape and murder of the 13-year-old Iraqi girl? They busted in her house at night because they saw her going through a checkpoint. She was hot. So they busted in her house in the middle of the night. They raped and murdered her in front of her family and then killed her family. Okay? So these are not isolated. This is a constant running theme. Look, if you didn't have men being exposed to highly traumatic situations over and over and over again, they wouldn't act like this. You go into the military, and I don't say this as being experienced in the military because I'm not in the military, nor would I ever sign up to be in the military. Because I'm a free-thinking individual. So taking orders like a lemming is not within my DNA. I cannot do it. Don't get me wrong. When I was leaving high school, I actually signed the preliminary contract to go into the Marine Corps. I actually signed it, and I was thinking about doing it. I was close. I was real close. Because, you know, those recruiters, you know, they make it sound great when you're a 17-year-old kid ready to graduate. But they break you down and mold you into whatever they want you to be. And what they want you to be is a killing machine. You're fire to be used up. You're not making us back here in the United States. You're not making us more free. You're not. I hate to break it to you. And when I was accused after putting up this video of quote unquote lumping all military people together, well, I'm going to come back at you with this. When you tell me to support the troops, or you drive around with a ridiculous fucking ribbon on the back of your car that says support the troops, I hate to say it, but you're lumping assholes like this that beat sheep, throw puppies, and rape 13-year-old girls all in with your support the troops sticker. It's a propaganda mind fuck. Okay? Support the troops. What the fuck am I supporting the troops about? What am I supporting them for? For what? They're brave? No, they're not. Look, I could pretend I don't have a brain in my fucking head and walk into the middle of 5 lanes of speeding traffic and dodge cars and make it to the other side. Would you say I was brave? No, you'd say I was an idiot. So blindly signing up for the military to go fight for freedom that doesn't exist in the first place against an enemy that was made up by people that are sending you to fight does not make you brave. It makes you an idiot. How can I support that? How can I support it? And how can you, as thinking individuals that listen to my program and other programs like it and comment on my page and look at the shit I put out there, how can you even come at me like that? How can you even think like that? Because when you want to bitch and moan about people you care and love about getting hurt overseas, it's your fucking fault that they're getting hurt because you're supporting the fucking troops. Don't you get it? It's all this fear people have. It's this fear, this social acceptance. If I don't support the troops in this social circle, then I'll be a social outcast. So I have to support the troops because, because if I don't, someone may see something and they might say something. And then I can be considered a political dissident, a terrorist threat, and whammo, bammo, I'm black-bagged, hauled off, no habeas corpus, thrown in indefinite detention until I'm considered no longer a threat or I die. That's what supporting the troops gets you. And I don't care if you have family that were veterans. I don't care. I did too. My grandparents were both veterans, and I love them more than anybody in my life. I loved them, and I respected them. But they were fooled as well. And I'm honest enough with myself to say that. And if they were alive today, I would love to talk to them about that because they were reasonable, rational people. But people who tell me to support the troops, or when I show you troops committing horrific things, and I'm not even going to go into depleted uranium yet on this show, but I'm gonna, then I can't do that. And you shouldn't do that either, because if you love and care about anybody that's in the military, you cannot support the troops. You cannot. Look, if this country was under attack by a legitimate threat, if there was fighting to be done, if there were heinous acts to be done in defense of people's freedom and well-being, I would do it in a heartbeat. I am no peace-loving, tree-hugging, hippie-type dude. That's not me. If there's a job to be done and it needs to be done, I'll do it. I mean, if it's a worthy cause, I'm there. This is not a worthy cause, everybody. We've been through World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, now the war on drugs, the war on terror. Is anything going any better? Are we any more free? Is the world a more peaceful place? It is absolutely not. So war is not the answer. You can't you can't support the troops. You cannot support the troops because that means you support the war. People just don't get it. It's not little shit to be brushed under the carpet, you know? It's not just a little thing that you say. There's a lot more to it. You support murdering these little kids between 4 and 12? I mean, I don't know. You know, the day is going to come where the battles will be being fought in your neighborhood, where, you know, maybe members of your family will be killed by drones. But who knows? By that point, your mind may be so fucking screwed up and messed up and twisted around that you can somehow justify that to yourself. That's what they want you to do. That's how they want you to think. You know, Orwell's 1984, Huxley's Brave New World. These aren't good guesses. This is what's happening. This is where they're bringing us. And if anybody, you know, look, man, do I like things Ron Paul says? I do. I like things that Ron Paul says. I do. But I'm not a kid. Okay? I'm not a fucking child anymore. I don't think that the voting system is real. There's a documentary out there. Go look at it. Black Box something it's called. Just check it out. I don't believe the voting system is real, and therefore I don't believe that we're going to vote in a person that is actually going to turn this thing around. I just don't believe it's happening. You know, the assassination of JFK was the look. You know, you screw with us. This is what we're going to do. We're going to blow your effing head off in front of everybody, you know? So each night when we go to bed and lay our head down on our comfy little pillows and we're all, so cozy. It's a falsification. You know, we have to make the change ourselves. We have to get in the street. We have to make our voice be heard. We have to show massive citizen uprising, okay? And again, if I'm getting trolled out there by any agencies, not that I think this show is important enough to draw that attention, but hey, you never know. I'm not condoning violence. I'm condoning a massive protest, a massive standing up. I mean, look at people. Look at Facebook, okay? Look at this stupid thing, Facebook, okay? They're giving you this crap for free, okay? Anytime they give you something for free, a member of my Facebook page put up a great article. You are the product, okay? Facebook was basically designed for a couple of reasons. One, to allow you to put out all your private information and get rid of all your rights to it as soon as you put it up on Facebook. It was made for that reason, so that you would willingly give up all your private information up to as so detailed so that you're to the point where you're checking in everywhere you go. Hey, Darren checked in at the local sub shop, and then Darren checked in at the gym, and who gives a shit where I am? This could lead me right into a whole rant about, creating this whole narcissistic, social networking society where you actually believe that people give a shit about what you're putting in your mouth and where you are at that point in time. How do we all survive without knowing where each other was all the time and what we were all eating and every little thought we were thinking? How do we make it? I'm surprised we even could make it. I'm being sarcastic, of course. God. Sorry for rambling, you guys. I'm sorry. It's just I have a caller on the line, don't I? Let me take this call.
What's up?
Hey, caller. What's happening?
Hey, this is Pinko the Bear. How you doing today?
Hey, Pinko the Bear. How you doing, my friend?
I'm well, man. I've never heard your show before, and I am enjoying the rant. I am really enjoying the rant. I must say I agree with. I've been listening for about 30 minutes, and you haven't said anything that I disagree with. In general. I'm not a big fan of Alex Jones, and I would never, use any of his clips personally because I think he's just tainted.
I'm not really, dude. And actually, that clip. I mean, he introduced the clip, but it wasn't him. It was just
right. Yeah.
It was my bad editing. I would have got that out.
But man, I feel the same way about this whole support the troops thing, and whenever I do say it out loud to people, I get that whole love it or leave it, my country right or wrong, and why do you hate America, and all these infantile, ridiculous, knee-jerk, right-wing talking points, and it's frustrating. So it is nice to hear that somebody else out there is using their brain and is thinking things through and is putting it out there for people to hear, because the more this type of message gets sent and received, the better off the entire planet will be.
I agree, and that's the whole thing. I mean, it just boggles my mind that people don't understand. When they're struggling financially and they're under pressure with all these minuscule, ridiculous nuances that are implemented in our life, and they don't see that all of this is being pushed on you, so you don't have time to think or breathe or articulate or anything, and it's so much easier for me to just go, I support the troops, get out of the country if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Because I haven't put an ounce of thought into it.
Yeah, it's a bumper sticker mentality, and it's really sad that there's a large proportion of our population that can't really think beyond the size of a bumper sticker, and so it's up to people who can to think things through, check things out, and then tell the truth about things. So I must say I'm pretty happy to hear you on this show. How often are you on?
I'm on Monday and Thursday nights at 6.
That's probably why I've never heard. I'm up. I do one at midnight Pacific, so I don't know what time zone you're in, but so I'm like midnight.
You used to listen to my show, when I first started.
Is that right?
Yeah, man, you used to, because I remember seeing your little icon there. I remember your name, and I know you do a show because I've logged on late at night, and I know that's when your show is on.
Right. Oh, interesting. I don't remember. Was it called The Front at that time? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about it. The '80s, man. My brain.
I hear you.
Hey, I haven't heard you mention the Occupy movement. What's your take on this thing?
Well, I was talking about it in the beginning of the show. I actually went down to Zagati Park. Me and some other radio friends went down there at the first weekend in October. I wanted to check it out. I went down there as a reporter, basically. That was my mindset. I wanted to get a first-hand view and check it out. And we were there on the day of the bridge arrests, when the movement got that's the day it got its first national media of reporting.
That was a great day.
Yeah, well, it was, but it was a very odd day. And I'll make it short. What happened? That was an entire setup. That whole thing was set up.
Oh yeah, the cops told him, yeah, come on onto the bridge, everything's cool, and then they.
The thing was, look, man. I mean, we started. I was in the march. I was in the beginning part of the march at the head of it, kind of. Well, I was about 800 people back. That was at the head of it. There was a lot of people behind me, but the march went away from Wall Street, the complete opposite direction, and went to march over the Brooklyn Bridge into Brooklyn, which I really have no idea the point of that. To me, it was completely pointless. But the reason I say it was a setup, one, whoever led the march that day led us that way, and the cops allowed everybody to get onto the bridge where they trapped everybody,
Sure.
and the media was already there waiting.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that was a setup. But
now,
there is, on the other hand, the cops at the front of the march, before they went on the bridge, they used a megaphone and they read a script basically saying, if you walk on this bridge, you're going to be arrested. So they did tell the people at the front. So everybody at the front heard it. But what happened is the people at the front started saying, take the bridge, and basically ignore the cops. And so everybody behind them, they never heard the warning.
No.
The people at the front heard the warning. I remember playing the clip of the cops. It's up on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen it. But yeah, the people in the back had no idea. And but yeah, the whole thing was. But I liked it. I liked the fact that it got national attention. I didn't like it when Scott Olson got put in the hospital. On the other hand, it's things like this that inevitably happen when police or state violence is used against citizens, and there's always going to be martyrs, whether it's the Kent State 4 or the couple after and the week after. I mean, there's always going to be martyrs, and luckily no one, to my knowledge, has been killed by the cops yet, though you could make an argument about the woman whose baby was killed, I don't want to call it a baby, but who miscarried after being beaten by the cops. She was 3 months pregnant. So yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of this, and I think the harder they crack down, the more people will come to join the movement. Personally, I think that's what's going to happen. Sad.
I agree with you. And so my overall view of the Occupy movement is this. On that day, I believe that left-wing a left-wing organization took control of that march, and I say that because of the signage that was being held at the front of the march. But I agree with you 100%. I think people have seen the violence perpetrated by the cops, and I think that's brought out a lot more of a grassroots type movement. Is the element of COINTELPRO and subversion in there? It's always going to be in there, no matter what. In any type of revolutionary process or start thereof, you're always going to have that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, and that's why they just make a blanket judgment about it. Oh, those dirty hippies.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I interviewed a couple of ladies that were out of work teachers from Ohio. I interviewed another couple of ladies who were anti-war demonstrators. I mean, I interviewed a lot of different people, and none of them were dirty hippies looking for a handout, including myself, who had work and just went down there for the weekend and got back in time for Monday.
Right. Have you spent any other time? Have you actually camped out and been part of it, or are you just looking at it more as a reporter, as an observer?
No, I didn't. I didn't go back down there. And to be honest with you, man, the only reason I haven't is just cash is very short for me. I'm strapped.
You and me both, brother. I'm in part of Occupy Reno here, and we don't have any issues with the city. They've been very cool with us. We get good coverage in the local press. I mean, almost like they're looking for a story, and not a bad story, but they're coming out, asking us and interviewing us all the time. So we've been treated well, and we've got no issues. And it would be nice if other municipalities would take a clue and take a cue from the city of Reno, who's been very accommodating. Our voices get heard, and our message gets out there. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody's head gets cracked. Nobody loses a baby. It's actually quite nice.
So let me ask you, Pinko, where do you see this thing going? Do you see it dying out, or do you see it growing?
I think it's going to grow. Particularly the more the police, more the state uses violence against citizens, the more people are going to get riled up. And so over time, we're going to get more media coverage, more of our voice heard, and we'll pick up support as people start to understand what the movement's about. We face a challenge here in the high desert. We're just a few miles from Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, right? Everybody's up there skiing, so it's pretty cold down here in the valley, and I can get in the 20s at night lately. So we face that challenge that some people might not be able to make it through the winter, and so we might get smaller. But I believe it, and I'm sure we're going to make it through the winter, and I think most camps will. We'll make it through the winter, and then when we're still here in the spring, I believe that those, what do they call them? As Thomas Paine called them, the springtime patriots and the summer soldiers, right? Those types will start, to go, well, wow, they're still here. Maybe I'll go check this out. Maybe I'll, Now, whether it's going to, occupying is just a tactic, right? So the movement, just because you lose a piece of real estate, a park or a plaza, doesn't hurt the movement. I mean, doesn't end the movement. It's just one tactic. So that's one thing we have to keep in mind.
Well, I agree with you about the springtime and summertime. I thought the same thing. If this thing is still going by then, I think it's going to explode because also, by then, QE3 could be in full swing and we could be suffering from a lot more inflation, and that's just going to piss a lot of other people off. Mm-hmm. So, I agree. But I also think that this whole people in the streets thing, I think that in the beginning it might have even been planned, and it's not hard to get the people to do your bidding, as I saw on that bridge day. But
it was planned. It was planned, but I'm not sure you mean in the same way that I think it's planned. What do you mean by planned?
Well, I mean as part of the NWO agenda for destabilizing the country. Look, they want us to fight amongst ourselves. It's what they do everywhere, and so what I feel is that hopefully people will keep a clear focus on what they're doing, and not get co-opted and not get subverted. And I don't want to see it get violent, but I really feel that's probably what's going to end up happening because the cops are the ones actually perpetuating the violence.
Well,
and eventually people are just going to get sick and tired of it.
Yeah, it's always the state that starts that stuff. Here's what I've heard people surmise or think that maybe it was planned by the NWO. What would be the advantage to have America destabilized?
Well, I think the ideals of America is a huge threat, right? It's freedom and things like that, and sovereignty and all that. So, I mean, their agenda is usually has multiple purposes. Look, a destabilization of this country. Well, we can enact more of a police state, more control over citizens. You all know. I mean, everybody knows that they get off mostly on control. It's not about money; they have plenty of that. So it's about control. Right. Then we collapse the economy. Look, the guys on Wall Street, they make the money up or down. In fact, they usually make more on the way down because they've already set themselves up for it, and then they can come in and buy things for paying $1. You want to introduce a new, more trackable, controllable currency. Well, so there you go. You implode everything. To me, America has to be gutted from the inside out, like we're being. Mm-hmm. And it only does the controllers more good. If it's not about what me and you want, we're straw men in a corporation. That's all we are to them.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I know I hear what you're saying. I just it just seems like the power of the United States. I'm not talking about you and me, but of the planners and the owners and the apparatus they use, the military and the security. That all of that power is. It only exists if the economy doesn't tank, and so if it just seems like if the economy completely tanks, if the stock market goes to 1,000, right? If unemployment goes to 35%, if things get really, really out of hand, what'll happen is we'll have an actual real revolution. And capitalism will be destroyed. I mean, it'll be replaced with something else. That's in my view. And so, in past times, when it looked like when the ruling class had ruined the economy to the point where people were on the verge of revolution, Well, then they gave reforms, the FDR and the New Deal and such, to keep people pacified, placated. So it just seems to me it seems like a little bit of a stretch to think that the ruling class would want to bring down America, because right now, I don't know, it seems like that is the power behind this new world order, so to speak.
Look at it this way, though. I mean,
Sure.
We can say that the economy is bad. The economy is bad for us at the street level.
Absolutely.
For most of us, they still have. There's no stopping buying the weapons, the toys. Funding the military. I don't believe that the economy is truly crashing because of toxic mortgages and derivatives and things like that. This was all part of the plan. You don't get rid of Glass-Steagall and go, holy crap, look what they're doing. I mean, it was there for a reason.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, but they did it. But the economy did crash because of the deregulation and the ridiculous gambling and the derivatives and the CDOs.
Well, right, but come on, like, you're a thinking person. Would you ever? I mean, it was Glass-Steagall was implemented to stop that. When you get rid of that, you're like pulling the plug on in the bathtub. I mean,
right? No, yeah, I understand. And here's what I would say to that. It was implemented 70 or 80 years ago, and there's cycles in this country for the last just about every 4 generations, every 70 to 80 years. There's a massive depression. We had one. We're having one now. We had one in the Great Depression,
which results in a consolidation of wealth and power.
Right. But so here's the thing. This is a symptom of capitalism. It's a symptom of the system. And so every once in a while, the capitalists will overplay their hand. They'll push a little too far, get a little bit too clever, hurt too many people financially and physically, emotionally, and then they'll have to give something back. They'll have to do a little reform. And so about every 80 years, I mean, we had it again in the 1850s. It happens, and so we're gonna have.
Why would they give reform though? Why do they give reform? It's to pacify the masses, right?
Yeah, because
in all those other instances. But dude, in all those other instances you're talking about, we did not have the control grid in place that we do now. We did not have the militarized police forces like we do now.
Yeah, and so maybe we won't get the kind of thing that we got at the New Deal. We won't get what we got in the late part of the Industrial Revolution with the child labor laws, and so maybe we won't get the same types of reforms because of the police security apparatus that's in place now. But if they continue to hurt people and people can't feed themselves and people end up homeless, you know what? You can only jail so many people, and so I think it's at least in my view, I think it's probably the case that when things get bad enough, they'll give some back, because they know as long as they preserve the system, preserve the capitalist system, then they can preserve the empire, right? As long as they preserve that system, they can go another generation or two only making X number of billions of dollars in profits, and then claw back whatever they've given away to the people in the way of reforms. Just claw that back over the next couple generations. That's kind of my take on it.
Well, you know what? I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so.
I really do. I don't see it that way. I mean, I believe the New World Order is a real thing, a real idea. I believe that we're actually in global governance. I believe that we are actually part of the North American Union right now. It's just not thrown up in your face. This is why no borders are closed. This is why. This is, look, all the signs point to that. So I personally, I can't see the progression stopping. I just hope, my only hope is that when people get in the streets and it starts to get rough and violent, I just hope that people know your enemy, that they know their enemy. They understand it's not the left, it's not the right. No, it's not that Tea Party guy. It's not that Occupy guy. It's the people that have pushed this down on us.
Yeah, I'm fond of. I see you're short of time, so I'll just say one more thing. I'm fond of saying in real life and on my show as well that it's not a left-right thing. It's really an up-down thing. And even though I totally disagree with the Ron Paul types and the American libertarian types. I totally just disagree with conservative mindset. What we can agree on is we're all being screwed by the 1/1000th or the 1/10,000th of 1%. It's not just the 1%. It's really a small fraction of the 1% that is setting the agenda. But thanks for having me.
Wait, plug your show, brother. Plug your show.
It's called Up Late with Pinko the Bear. Usually Monday through Friday, midnight to 2 a.m. Pacific time. But with my participation in Occupy Reno, it's a little more sporadic. Sometimes it's on the weekends. Sometimes it's 3 nights a week. But, that's it.
I gotta go. All right, you guys. Hey, great. Thanks for calling in, Pinko. Totally appreciate it. Here's your normal words of wisdom, everybody. See you all Thursday. Thanks for hanging.
Your choice is simple. Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration. We shall be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.